Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, February 9th to Saturday, February 15th. Okay, so last week we had a lot of shifting energies. Of course, we had Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, complete her cycle throughout the zodiac wheel. She shifted into Aries energy on the 4th. Definitely put some pep back in our step. Of course, we would like to act on impulse, take action, and make moves. We're not really in the mood for doing that. This is about building our inner selves up. We have to get in alignment with our heart space. We have to be sure of what it is that we truly want, we truly need, we truly desire. We have to get in alignment in our inner realm before we take action and make moves in the external realm. And considering the fact that Venus is soon going to be going retrograde in this Aries energy, doesn't leave a whole lot of room for major progress to be made, especially initiating new topics and themes, especially where relationships and money matters are concerned. We had Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings, go direct on the exact same day. I don't know about y'all, but a couple of days prior to the 4th, I was feeling that jitteriness. I had a lot of extra energy coursing through my body. And of course, Jupiter was to blame for that. He turns the volume up. He magnifies whatever kind of mood and attitude we're in. And of course, as he shifted direct in Gemini energy, air energy, under the influence of this air season that we're in, being an Aquarius season, a lot of mental pressure, a lot of changing perspectives, a lot of things for us to review and process. And now that he's direct, for us to grow upon, for us to expand upon, for us to act upon. Of course, we're not really in a time of action just quite yet. We have a lot of the details to sort out. But we didn't get very much time to adjust to Venus in that Aries energy or Jupiter stationing direct before we were thrown into our first quarter moon popping off in that Taurus energy just the next day on the 5th. Now, although that was a grounding energy and an anchoring energy, it was also a action / crisis / choice energy. What does that mean? Well, we got to go back to the new moon in Aquarius when we kind of planted the seeds of our futuristic intention, so to speak. And as the energy built to that first quarter moon in Taurus, we were in a situation, a circumstance where we had to get off the pot, where we had to decide, where we had to lean towards one path, one decision, one choice point over the other. And of course, we got into that energy. It felt like we were running through mud while still getting electrocuted by the lightning bolts coming in from the cosmos, definitely doing a number on our central nervous system. And of course, energy management was a big task, a big chore over the course of this past week. Now, is the energy going to get any easier? No, probably not. This week, we have a full moon taking place in Leo energy. This is popping off on the 12th. And of course, a full moon is definitely going to turn the volume all the way up on some situations, circumstances, and emotions. We, at this particular juncture, are lacking the information, the details, the confirmation, the validation that we're looking for. And most of the time, more oftentimes than not, we are going to receive that information, probably in an information overload kind of way, to fully paint the picture on what it is that we're moving away from and to give you some hints and clues likely related to a lot of topics and themes, a lot of ideas, a lot of situations and circumstances that you found yourself in back in the summertime months. We have to go back to that new moon in Leo. And of course, if you have your moon guides available to you, super easy to go back, reference what was going on for you under that particular influence. Suddenly, we are at a climactic point, if you will, the pivot point of our heart space. We are now in a particular circumstance where we are moving away from some of the things that maybe we were thinking about back at that particular time frame, that now we are very much in the need of having to make a choice point, a decision point upon in order for us to pivot. And of course, that pivot is definitely going to be happening here this week. We are building towards Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves, moving out of this Aquarius energy, which has just been information overload and a lot of pressure on our heads and just receiving a lot of downloads that we don't even understand yet. Mercury will be moving into Pisces energy on the 14th, which is very dreamy, very romanticized, very creative, very imaginative, if you will, and puts us in a very good state of mind, especially if you're somebody that takes part in Valentine's Day, to either be in love with love or to manifest the kind of love that you're currently not in. So either way, we are going to see a major shift take place, first of all, with this energy building up into this releasing point for that full moon in Leo. Major heart activations coming at us. We're going to talk about that here in a second. And then even more than that, there is going to be a little bit of relief on the headspace once Mercury actually moves into that Pisces energy. But we also have to consider that, Mercury is still the headspace. It is the lower level intellect. And now all of the thoughts, all of the ideas, all of the potentialities that we've been exploring while Mercury is in this Aquarius energy, now we have to drop into our heart and soul space in order to actually feel our way through some of the ideas, some of the goals, visions, and dreams that, of course, we probably still don't even understand at its fullest potentiality at this particular juncture. But now we have to kind of feel our way through, which isn't the most favorite thing to do for a whole lot of people. But it's a great time to be creative. It's a great time to kind of tap into a new level of your higher self and to gain a even more informed vision, goal, and dream, because now there's emotion to it. And of course, what we have to understand about manifesting is first there's got to be a passion, an idea, a spark, if you will. Then we have to move into the headspace, think about it, weigh all the pros and cons, all the different options, all the different variables. Then we back it with that emotion, and that sets the, let's call it, domino effect on actually materializing it and bringing it into the physical realm. So we're almost there. And I think that Mercury moving into Pisces energy is definitely going to kind of soften some of the rigidity out there on the greater, grander global stage and in our own individual lives. But it is going to be a little bit of I'm going to call it a little bit of a dabble, if you will, in some of the deeper emotions that we've been trying to avoid. That Pisces energy, of course, is about wrapping things up. It is about the endings and the closures needed in order for us to move on. And so although there is a heaviness and a weight that we have to process and kind of get out of our system before we can be downloaded with these new intuitive insights, this new creative energy, although that is the end goal, we do have to kind of wade through the darker waters before we actually get there. So that should be an interesting dynamic for the collective to be moving into. So before I jump into the ascension symptoms and what we can expect from the energy of the week, there's just a couple of things that I would like to cross off my homework list. And of course, that starts with thank yous. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for dropping beautiful emojis in the comment section below. Thank you for sharing your time, your energy, your stories, your experiences, not only with me, but within this community. Again, super reminder, you are not alone. And this community is a beautiful place because when you drop what you're currently going through in the comment sections, please remind yourself that you're helping somebody else not feel as alone going through what it is that they're going through. The whole goal of this little community is to, again, not feel alone and remind you that you're not cray-cray. This stuff is actually going on. It's affecting a lot more people than you actually think. And it is, the strength in numbers that we need right now in order to not only, kind of group up and reassure each other that we're on the same page here, but we also have to be grouping up in numbers and really focusing our energy, our attention on the positive outcome. And if you've been kind of tracking the Schumann Resonance, if you've been tracking world events, if you've been tracking, just the energy shifts going on here, you will know that, yes, we have been in a very divisive state of energies, but I don't think the divide has ever been so great. And I'm talking energetically speaking. And so if you are somebody that has been doing the work within themselves and you're not feeling these ascension symptoms as greatly or as intensely as some other people seem to experience them, then congratulations, that's great. But just know that we're about to move into a time where even the most seasoned alchemist is going to be feeling these energy fluctuations even more so than maybe we have in the past, because now it's our time to kind of take on the double load, so to speak, tapping into the collective, bringing on that junky, gunky kind of energy, alchemizing it within this beautiful vessel that we have definitely got down to a T, to a science, if you will, on how to bring some of these lower energies into our physical form and do the work in order to kind of lighten the vibe and give it back to the collective. And so, this is teamwork, and we are definitely doing it. And I just feel as we kind of transition to the latter part of this week, and of course move into next week, the Aquarius season is coming to an end here shortly. We are shifting into Pisces season here on the 18th. And with that being said, Pisces season is always very deep and transformative, and it starts usually with depression and delusion, and we leave this particular season moving into the new astrological new year when the sun moves into Aries energy, refilled, renewed, refreshed with hopes, with wishes, with dreams, and with an intuitive insight on what needs to be done. So I'm just kind of preparing us right now that when we start dipping into this Pisces energy here towards the end of the week with Mr. Mercury, first of all, we're going to start kind of feeling the weight of the world, so to speak, from the collective in our energy. And because of that, again, those of us that have kind of been through the boot camp and know what to do and how to control our own energy, we have to double down. We have to help the collective right now, because division is definitely not something that we want to see at this particular juncture. We need a lot more people feeling good and feeling in their power and feeling like they're in their creator abilities in order for us to all kind of link together to get focused on the kind of realm and reality that we want to manifest here. Because we are reaching some very pivotal, what I'm going to call timeline stamps or timeline markers here. And it's really time for us to get focused on what needs to be done, energetically speaking. So I know you're probably kind of exhausted and don't want to deal with it. We're just at the particular point in the astrological calendar where you kind of should be exhausted. If you haven't had your birthday as of recent, and you're not kind of fueled up with those solar codes, you're running on empty, my friend. You're collectively on the astrological calendar's timeline, which means that we're not supposed to have a whole lot of energy right now. And the energy work that we are doing is very intense and very exhausting. And we're not going to feel kind of refreshed and renewed until we move into that new astrological calendar. So that is my roundabout way of thanking you for all being here and for sharing, for commenting and sharing your experiences and just reassuring, each other that we're all in this together. I want to thank those of you that have jumped over to Patreon. Now, I did make some changes last week, and I know I kind of disappointed a small group of people that really was into me streaming these particular forecasts on Spotify. And I am super sorry to have to pull out of Spotify, but it was just not doing what I wanted it to do. And so we're back to YouTube, good old YouTube. And of course, if you want ad-free content and you want a little bit more of a perk, a little bit more of a community, jump over to Patreon. That's where all of the activities are at. Now, speaking of activities, we are still kind of at the very beginning stages of February. So if you have not downloaded your February energy guide as of yet, I'm going to recommend you do so. If you do not have your new moon Aquarius moon guide in front of you, you're going to want that, because we're hitting the peak climactic precipice point here with the full moon in Leo taking place here on the 12th. And of course, we should be manifesting in accordance with these energies. Thus why I've created the moon guides in the way that I have. And this full moon in Leo is going to be a banger, because we get to release and remove a lot of the junk and the gunk that we've been kind of carrying on our heart space. And a lot of that junk and that gunk is very attached to the old. And a lot of the old decisions that definitely look good at the time that now we're looking back upon, we're like, damn, probably not in alignment with that anymore. We're kind of moving on, if you will. And we're really kind of growing through what we're currently going through right now. And we're going through the trenches. And so that particular heart activation release is going to be a major deal. And we have some major manifesting energies coming at us here this week as well. That's why I encourage you to stay in alignment with what needs to be done with these particular energies. And all of that is in the moon guide. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I did offer a special service to my VIPs over on Patreon here yesterday. They definitely get first dibs on all the things that I am doing first and foremost, because I've created this service that I initially created in quote unquote honor of Valentine's Day, although I'm not honoring Valentine's Day at all. I actually don't believe in Valentine's Day, but a lot of people do. And for my singles out there that are really, wanting to manifest a good vibrational partner, a good match for them, I have created a little bit of a astrology love reading, let's call it. But it's actually way more than that. It's doing deep-seated work in your chart to understand where it is that you naturally have a draw to particular toxic or dysfunctional patterns. And basically what we're looking at is the shadow aspects of some particular placements in your chart to not only identify the pain and trauma that you're probably attracting in a partner or have attracted in a partner in the past, but to also validate for you that there is a little bit more validity to this astrological thing, so that you can kind of, lean into when I explain to you how to attract your appropriate partner. We all have indicators in our chart. There are different placements. There are different areas in the chart that give us a lot of hints and clues on what the best kind of partner would be for us. And let me just say, this isn't just like, oh, you would be great with an Aries. No, it's way more in depth than that. And I thought that it would be appropriate to kind of release it at this particular juncture, because what I'm doing in these sessions is specifically telling you what the burdens, what the pains, what the traumas are, in order for you to release these particular realizations under that full moon, so that you can spend Valentine's Day, the 14th, under the support of Mercury moving into this Pisces energy to manifest the right kind of vibrational person, the right kind of vibrational match, according to your chart. So if you would be interested in that service at all, again, there are limited spots. A lot of them have already been reserved by my VIPs on Patreon. Again, just another reason to jump over there and be a part of that community, because they get dibs on everything first. But definitely check that out on my website if that's something that you're interested in. I'm definitely looking forward to kind of doing these special little readings, if you will, because if you ever had a session with me, you would know that, first of all, it's information overload. And secondary, although we touch on different things, it's really nice to kind of hone in on a specific thing. So, when we're talking about career or opening up your own business or what you would be best suited for, like that is a whole specific topic and theme that we could do for a reading session. And a lot of people want to know how to make money and how to create their own realm in reality. And a lot of people want to know how to manifest the right kind of person for them, what to look out for. And the funny thing is that what we're attracted to versus what we should be attracted to sometimes are two totally different things. And that's just understanding the animalistic egoic programming versus the higher self vibrational programming. And this is what we're covering in this particular session. So again, if you're interested in that, jump over, reserve yourself a spot. Let's dive into it. Speaking of diving into it, let's jump into this week's Ascension symptoms. So first of all, again, we're still in Aquarius season. So there's still a lot of head pressure. There's still a lot of air. There's a lot of dryness. There's a lot of electricity. There's a lot of mental processing. There is a lot of fatigue. Like, we're exhausted. And a lot of the exhaustion isn't even physical exhaustion, although, we're low on physical energy. Thank you to the ending part of this astrological calendar for that. But a lot of the exhaustion is just like, we don't want to think about the things that we're thinking about anymore. And we're tired of racking our brains and trying to figure things out. We're tired of planning and strategizing. And we're tired of, the bickering that goes on in our mental plane, the back and forth and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and I could do this and maybe I should do that. It's all a little bit overwhelming. And of course, it's all building towards a very specific purpose, which is to get us out of our head space and into our heart space. And we get kicked in the heart space, so to speak, kicked in the guts, if you will, under this full moon in Leo, that of course is going to have major heart activations. So not only do we have Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, in this Aries energy, she's just bouncing around like a pinball machine, trying to not act on impulse, trying to be patient, trying to get her inner realm in order before she goes ahead and starts sharing all of her thoughts, ideas, and affections with the people, with the world around her. That is a heart activation all in itself. But on top of that, this full moon in Leo, again, going to knock the wind right out of us, so to speak, and be prepared for that. We are in an air season, but we don't even realize that we're walking around day to day with a bunch of junk and gunk that belongs to, old self and old situations and old circumstances. We don't even know the weight of the world that we're carrying on our shoulders and in our heart space until it's released from us and we feel lighter. We're like, oh, damn, didn't even know that was like bearing down on me as hard as it actually was. And so the activations that are taking place right now are the residual cords, if you will, that are still attached very much to that old version of self, to some old emotions, to some old thoughts, to some old situations and circumstances that, again, we've outgrown, we've learned the lesson from, we want to move on, we want to move forward. And for a lot of us, we don't understand why it's not happening. And a lot of that is because the energetic cords are a lot of things that we aren't really seeing on the day to day. We don't see them. We can't tangibly touch them. And so again, when certain events happen, it may not have a direct effect on our emotions, such as, having the appropriate reaction or response to said circumstance. But what it does is it triggers something within us that actually allows us to open up the floodgates, so to speak, or open up our heart space or open up our head space to be thinking of something differently. And what happens is that all that residual energy that you're not even consciously aware of takes the opportunity to bust that wall down while there was a little bit of shakiness in there due to certain circumstances in the present moment here and now that are totally unrelated to a lot of the pain and trauma that, again, you're carrying on your heart space unknowingly. And so we're at a very pivotal point in time, especially because this heart activation, it puts us in a climactic point of release, and that release needs to happen, that detachment needs to happen as we move into Pisces season. That's where we cleanse the soul and the spirit, where we cleanse the chakras, where we cleanse ourselves from a lot of the junk and the gunk of the past. Whether you're conscious of it or not doesn't matter. You don't think of gravity each and every single moment of your day and of your life, but it exists. It does have a major spotlight in each and every single day, but you don't think about gravity. And so similarly, you don't think about a lot of the residual pain and trauma from your previous life, from your previous experiences, until something triggers and activates that in order for it to either come into your awareness or be released with something else. And this is where we're at. And all of these triggers and activations are happening in a domino effect to set us up for having to do the deep work, the deep purge that is coming at us and does every freaking year in Pisces season. And so we're kind of setting ourselves up for that. So again, a heart activation, you could feel like you're not able to breathe, meaning, when you take like a big deep breath in air into your lungs and it just doesn't satisfy you. Maybe it's just that you can't find that satisfying breath. Maybe the heart activation is actually your heart pounding. Maybe there's a rapid heartbeat. Maybe it's skipping a beat. Maybe there's a tightness in your chest. Maybe you physically hurt yourself in your chest somewheres. It could all manifest in different things. It could be as simple as acid reflux. Either way, something is happening in your physical body that is trying to bring attention to a particular area of your body. And in this case, we're talking about the heart space, in order for you to realize that nothing in the physical body manifests. Something simple like acid reflux versus something very intense like a heart attack without there being dis-ease in the energy body in order to manifest in the physical form. And so the various ranges of intensity is definitely an indicator of how much energetic weight you're carrying in that particular area of your body. But nonetheless, we are going to have something pop off in order to illuminate the weight that we're carrying on our heart space without even knowing it. So this is going to kind of extend into the shoulder stiffness and feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders right now, feeling the weight of the world on our chest space, not being able to take in that deep, satisfying breath. It is going to have rigidity in our neck. You're probably feeling it already. It definitely feels like there is a disconnect from, let's say, our heart space to the higher realm chakras, meaning we're in Aquarius season, we're in the higher realms of intelligence, we're technically detached from our physical bodies, believe it or not, energetically speaking, we definitely are. We are as emotionally detached under the Aquarius energy as we could possibly get. Again, believe that if you will. But at the same time, the chakra system is definitely going through a higher chakra processing from your heart chakra all the way up to your crown. That's going through an elevation. Thus why the physical body aches and pains. Thus why the lower back is an issue. Thus why the hips hurt. Why the legs hurt, why there's sciatica, why there are cramps going on, Charlie horses, cramps in your calves. The other day I watched my calf just kind of tremor, like it had its own heartbeat, like it had its own mind of its own. And it didn't feel, super uncomfortable, but at the same time, just a weird sensation to have, and visually speaking, a weird thing to watch. What I will say is that I do expect that the lower extremities are going to feel heavy weighted, kind of sore, kind of achy, if you will, specifically the feet. Now, typically speaking, when we move into Pisces season, which I know we're not there yet, but I'm trying to set the scene on how, the energy kind of moves through our physical body as we move through the astrological calendar here. The feet are a big topic and theme when we move into Pisces energy, because Pisces rules over the feet. And typically speaking, they're such cold feet because, again, we are wrapping up a cycle, and the anticipation that we're feeling about the energy and action in which we have to take when we move into this new astrological calendar. We're renewed, we're refreshed, we're resurrected in our soul and our spirit under that Aries energy. What happens is that the Pisces energy, we get cold feet because we're not really comfortable in taking any steps, moving on and moving forward. Even more than that, it's usually cold feet. Even more than that, you can literally watch your feet turn a different color because of circulation issues. That's a Pisces ruled, part of the body. And so although we're not there yet, there is cramping in the feet right now because the amount of excess energy of electricity coursing through our physical bodies right now and not able to channel correctly into Mother Earth and to Gaia, it is kind of cluster effing our feet. And so we're holding all of this energy in our feet, and, they're getting zapped. There is no comfortable place for our feet, lots of cramping, lots of, stubbing your toe, lots of, feeling cold in your feet already. And we haven't even really moved into the time nor the season where that should be happening at this particular intensity. And so I think that a lot of the energy that we're feeling in our feet not only is because we can't channel the electricity out of our body and into Mother Earth in the way that we would want, but it's also because there is this unsurety, this uncertainty of the path in which we need to be taking. Again, Aquarius energy downloads us with all this information that it remains unconscious to us for a very long time. And even though in our mental plane, we're trying to visualize the path moving on and moving forward, you have to willingly take a step, even in your mental visualizations, to actually see that that is the right path to be taking in order for you to visualize some of the situations and circumstances that you can expect to bump into in order to let the physical body respond to a hypothetical situation. And right now, we're so detached because of the upper chakras kind of being, leveled up in a way that there is our whole torso from our heart chakra down to our root that is just slow moving, barely moving at times, and therefore anchoring in the physical body to that lower chakra system, which is very attached to the earth. And therefore there is a stagnancy going on. And therefore, again, the energy is just not making the right kind of connection with the earth. It's staying in our body. It's cramping our feet. We don't know the steps to take. And there's just a whole lot of confusion in the physical form. What I would also want to say to that is that the energy that's moving through our body right now, and again, I would love to hear some feedback in the comments section below, so definitely feel free to share your experiences. I personally feel like the energy coursing through our bodies right now is on the cold side. It's a cold energy, and that to me means that there is a new energy coming in. Hot energy, typically speaking, wants to burn things up and bounce things around and just kind of stay crazy and chaotic. It doesn't feel like that to me. Maybe it's just my own personal, quest and adventure. I don't know. Again, let's talk about it in the comment section. But it just feels like there's these waves of energy that come into the crown. You can feel it come down the base of, your neck and down your spine. And you can feel like those, not really goosebumps, because I'm not seeing, the visual of goosebumps, but you can feel like this temperature wave shift through your body. And for me, it's on the cold side. And so I guess, it definitely could be different for other people depending on what you got going on in your physical form. To me, when it's hot, it is breaking up energy blockages in your body. And when it's cold, it means that it's moving through your channels and through your meridians with a lot of grace and a lot of ease. And right now, for me anyways, it's been cold. So I don't really suspect that the energy is going to shift in its identity so much over the next course of this week. I would expect a little bit more of a emotional temperature shift with that full moon in Leo, but the actual energy coursing through our bodies, I think, is going to stay on the cold side. One of the things that we have coming up here this week, February 9th, is Mercury and the Sun coming together for their conjunction. It's a combustion of these two energy. It's called a Kazemi or Kazemi, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Basically, the Sun and Mercury are going to be at the exact same degree in Aquarius energy here on February 9th. And not only does this bring hella amounts of confusion, but it comes with equal amounts clarity. And you're going to say, well, that sounds, very polarized and oxymoronic. How's that supposed to happen? Well, if you've been tuning in for the last couple of weeks, specifically about, Aquarius season, we've been talking about how the Aquarius energy is both brilliant and dumb as F. Meaning we have moments of genius and then we do the stupidest thing right after. And we can't even remember those moments of brilliance, that moment of genius, because we just get, zapped with, vision and downloads and clarity. We can't make sense of it. All of a sudden there's a glimmer where we understand it fully. And then it comes and it goes and then we do something stupid. And it's very, air dominant, flighty, right? Air energies, look at Geminis, Libras, and Aquarius. I'm not trying to call y'all out here, but I guess I am. Air energies or air placements are brilliant in a particular way, but they are flighty, flaky, and kind of silly all at the same time. And if you have, people in your life that are air dominants, you would know that sometimes you look at them and they're speaking and they're saying the most clever and most genius and most brilliant of things. And then all of a sudden they will literally run into a wall. And again, it's, I'm not trying to stereotype all of the air signs here, but you can get moments of brilliance and you can get moments of dumb effery literally in the same moment from air sign people, air dominant people. And that's what we all get to experience in an air sign. And specifically in the Aquarius energy, because it has to do with the collective's energy more so than the individual energy. And the collective's energy is batshit crazy. Take a good look around. We are seeing, again, that great division that we don't want to see between brilliance and dumb effery. So that clarity is coming at a beautiful juncture on the 9th, even though it's going to have a major, major pressurized system on our headspace. Like your head may feel like it's going to explode. And I know I've said that throughout the whole course of Aquarius energy, but again, have I been wrong? I don't think so. Secondary to that, even more type of intensity when the Sun is involved. Even if the Sun and Mercury were conjuncting in another sign, it would be a lot of head pressure. But the fact that this is happening in Aquarius energy, the highest form of our intellect and, tapping into other dimensional intelligence, this is going to be a banger. And it's coming in at such a pivotal time that we're not even going to understand what we were downloaded with until that full moon in Leo. That's when it's going to come full circle. That's when it's going to come into full realization. That's the aha moment. And equally, that is when our heart and our head we're going to realize where they're not on the same page. And in that realization, we're going to bring them on the same page really effing quick. Everything is accelerated. Everything is intense. Everything is pressurized here in Aquarius season. And it's because we have to kind of process everything at lightning bolt speed, because when we get thrown into the Piscean depths of emotion, we are going to have to swim through our emotions. There's not going to be a whole lot of thinking. There's going to be a whole hell of a lot of feeling. And so now is our chance to think and to really explore different, options and opportunities in our mentality and in our headspace, because we're not going to have that type of intelligence backing us and pushing us as we move through that Piscean energy. So of course, with the head pressure, there could be headaches, or there could be that head worm that I like to call it, that moving headache. But even more than that, I think the sinus issues are continuing. I wish I was really sitting here channeling all this information, and I really wish that this wasn't on my list, because I don't know about y'all, but I am so tired with the sinus pain, the sinus dysfunction, and the nosebleeds. Like, I am so tired of it. I know it's a necessary process. I know, technically speaking, that it's a good sign, but it doesn't feel good, and I don't like dealing with blood, and I am tired of being, this snotty bag of just congestion. It's just not fun. And, even when you do all the things, like I got the neti pot, I got the sinus rinse, I got the sprays for moisturizing, the sprays for drying, the sprays for this, the sprays for that. I got ointments. I got, I'm doing the steams. I'm doing the essential oil. I'm doing it all. Sometimes ascension symptoms, you just can't do a whole lot about them. That's the pure truth of it all. You want to try. You definitely want to move into your little toolbox of resources there and try everything you can in order to minimize the discomfort that your physical body is going through with all of these energetic upgrades. But sometimes you just can't win. And that's how I feel. For the past 2 weeks now, my sinuses are absolutely just terrorizing me. And the nosebleeds are just not fun. And so I, for one, was super, super disappointed to know that this was on the list again for this week. But one thing that I will say is different in comparison to the previous weeks that we've had this sinus issue. The lungs are coming more online, meaning, yes, the lungs are connected to heart activations, but also the sinus issues could get a little bit of out of whack, a little bit of out of control, which means that it could absolutely be dripping down the back of your throat and creating congestion in your lungs where there doesn't need to be any. And I know that there are coughing fits in order to kind of break up and rattle up a lot of that congestion in our lungs. And again, just reminder here, that congestion, that phlegm is trapped pain and trauma, is remnants of the past that we need to get out of our physical body. It is all a blockage. And if you have a physical blockage in your body, there is a direct correlation to the energetic blockage that created that physical blockage. And that's why we're having these ascension symptoms, in order to bring attention to specific areas of the body so that, again, we can try to do the best that we can to do something about it, to fix it, to heal it, to repair it. And even when you try all the things, sometimes it doesn't work. So just know that this week there's going to be a lot of, again, heart activations, chest pressure, and probably coughing fits in order to get that junk and that gunk up out of that heart space, specifically around that full moon in Leo energy. So, of course, if we have a lot of head pressure, if it's, affecting our throat in a certain way, dryness and the junk and the gunk dripping down the back of our throats and everything else, and it's definitely going to have a major impact on our ears as well. So, head issues, ear issues, throat issues. What I would say about the ear issue is it feels like we are kind of, ascending in an airplane, if you will, and our ears popped and there's a muffledness, the wah, wah, wah again. I do feel, and it's not really a buzzing more than it is like a rhythm popping, I want to call it. I don't even know how to explain some of the sensations that I get downloaded with. But it feels very much not like a buzzing, more like a clicking or a popping going on in the ear that actually doesn't clear out that muffledness. And so that's going to be rather annoying. Definitely pay attention to what side, right versus left, it's going on in, because that could be an indicator about some of the energy, situations, and circumstances going on in your life right now that need a little bit more time, energy, and attention. The itching, though, it's not really in the ear, it's in the middle of your head. And I would say if you could, point a laser through your head, it's right behind your third eye, around like the pineal gland, if you will. And I would suspect, it's just me trying to piece together, like, I don't know if y'all, talk to the uppers or whoever it is that you talk to, but for me, it's like a very, very twisted game of like Pictionary and charades, trying to like guess, what the message is and what I'm being downloaded with, and just seeing, these mystical, see-through, transparent type of beings, do charades and try to explain to you what to expect. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. What I will say is that the pineal gland, which of course is the whole reason for our spiritual ascension. essentially, and the growth and the upgrades and the levels up going on in our third eye and our crown, specifically because of Aquarius season. There's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of pressure there, and itchiness, as we know, is a sign of healing. And there's not going to be a way to scratch this itch, and that is going to be annoying as F. So sometimes, like, if you've been listening to me for a while, sometimes it's very clear, like, oh, the itchiness is in the back of your throat where you try to swallow your tongue in order to itch it. Or, oh, the itchiness is in your ear, like where you want to take like a knitting needle or a pen or something and start digging in there to try and itch it. It's neither of those areas. It's an area that literally, if you could just like, put a laser through it, it's behind your eyes, behind your third eye, down in the center of your head. If you were going from above down and then coming from the front or the back, going, straight through, that is the X. That is the cross, if you will, that some mythical and biblical characters were quote unquote hung or crucified from. And we're talking about, again, the termination, the crucifixion of the spiritual gland in our head space. And it's just going to be itchy. And although it's a very good sign that it's itchy, it's not going to feel so good. And I don't know what we can do about it. But the muffledness on top of, the head pressure on top of this itch that we can't scratch should be a very fun kind of week, I think. Let's talk about our spit for a second. Now, it's not the sweaters on our teeth, okay? And it's not the morning breath. And it's not the pasties. It's also... I'm giving you what it's not because I don't know what it is. So I'm going through the process of elimination here. I'll start again. It's not the sweaters on our teeth. It's not the film on our tongue. It's not the morning breath. It's not the pasties. It's not tasting blood. It's not tasting metal. But there is a weird watery consistency going to be taking over our spit here this week. And it's going to taste weird. Now, I don't know what that weird is. We've had that blood taste before. We've had the metal taste before. We've had the, morning breath taste and the pasty taste. Like, we all know what that is. I don't know what this taste is supposed to be. And I guess it's a, let's wait and see if we can describe it when it happens type of thing. All I know is that our spit is being thinned out, which is kind of oxymoronic, seeing as, of course, we have all of this junk and gunk and goo taking place in our sinuses and apparently this week in our lungs. You would think that it would be like a thick consistency, but apparently no. Apparently it's thinning out. It's watery to the point of, and I hate to do this because I'm probably going to gag on my own damn words here. But when you're about to like get nauseous and get sick, and how the flooding of the thin water comes into your mouth as you're about to like get sick, it kind of feels like that minus the nausea. I don't think we're going to get sick with it. I think that it's just going to be a really weird consistency that we're not used to. And I also think it's going to be a weird ass taste that hopefully we can identify when it happens so that I can make a note of it and we can talk about it if it ever happens again. But all I know is that it's not the blood taste and it's not the metal taste. I just don't know what taste they're referencing. So we're going to have to wait and see about that. What I would also want to say is that there is this, this hunger and this thirst, because again, we're in an air situation. Our thirst for clarity, our thirst for wisdom and knowledge is translating as thirst. We are in an air season that makes us thirsty anyways, but the hunger pain is coming back in a weird way. So many of us have literally been on the, I'm going to call it the side of not really thinking about eating or wanting to eat or feeling like you even want to think about food. There has been a lot of change where dietary needs are and where just the act of eating is altogether. It just feels like we are hungry, like definitely more hungry than normal, not as picky with the food in which we can actually eat. And I don't know about y'all, but I feel like that's a welcome change in my life anyways. Like, I'm tired of eating the same three things over and over and over, mostly because I can't even imagine stomaching anything else other than the three things that currently aren't making me have serious gags. But at the same time, I don't think it's, recommended that we go balls to the walls with just eating anything and everything, because I think that's going to be a major shock to our digestive system, especially if you've been on the side where you haven't been eating as much and you haven't been able to eat as much as you were once able to. Meaning, again, the pickiness is kind of subsiding for a second just for us to get fed. And it just feels like we need to feed ourselves and sustain ourselves at this particular juncture, almost in preparation for like a hibernation period. Although, I mean, technically, the astrological calendar, yeah, we are in a hibernation period, but, you know, we shouldn't be eating as much as I think we're going to be eating this week while hibernating. So I'm not really sure how that translates. I just know that the nausea and the pickiness and the selectiveness that many of us have been experiencing as of late is going to switch up here this week. And hopefully that'll be a good thing. What I would also want to say is that the inner realm, just as we've been discussing, is a little bit jittery, a little bit nervous, if you will, can get super irritated or agitated here very quickly. There's this realm of excitement or this realm of like manicness. And I don't know for the most part that any of us have any good reason to feel any of these ways, to be honest with you. I think it's literally just a reaction to the elevated energies. It feels like we know that something big is coming. It feels like we are having pre-anticipated excitement over something or nervousness or whatever the case may be, but it really hasn't happened yet. So, you know, whatever's going on, it's the potentiality of it happening instead of actually being rooted or anchored into reality at this particular juncture. And I feel like, you know, we're just being tested. Again, we have been being tested in order for us to bring these creator abilities online. I just feel like we're being tested in so many different ways right now, just to see the strength and the amount of control that we do have over our energy, over our mind space, over our heart space. And I think with all this electricity going on in the cosmos right now and coming into our bodies and having our physical vessel having to process more energy than we've ever been used to, I think it's just manifesting in all of these like inside jittery emotions that we just don't really have a valid reason for. But they're happening. We do have to acknowledge that, yes, this is the way I feel. And I may not know the actual cause or why I am feeling this, but still I'm feeling it. It's real. And so we just have to acknowledge that. We have to sit with it. And again, if you've been doing the work within yourself, you're likely picking up not only on your own individual energies, but now you're picking up on the collective energies because, again, they have kind of failed doing their part. And so, again, in typical, you know, spiritual warrior fashion, we have to pick up their part of the load as well and transmute and alchemize as much as we possibly can from now until the end of March. When we move into that new astrological calendar, that's really, you know, the goal at this particular juncture is to just be on the right side of things, you know, on the higher side of things, the lighter side of things, collectively speaking, so that when we lock in this new karmic chapter that comes with the new astrological calendar, that we give ourselves a little bit of a head start, so to speak. And if that means that we have to double down now, from now until the end of this astrological calendar to do the work of the people that failed to do it, then so be it. If it means that we have a little bit of a vantage point moving into the new astrological calendar. So things are brighter, things are louder, textures are more textury, water is more watery. I know. And if you're listening to me for the first time, you're going to be like, oh man, she's batshit crazy. Yep, that would be a fair assessment. However, you probably might be saying that even if you've been listening to me for a while. However, you would also know what I'm talking about. Everything is a little bit more exaggerated right now. Everything is way brighter than it normally used to be. Everything is louder than it ever used to be. The things that you are coming in contact with are, I want to say, realer than they've ever been, but they're also as fake as they've ever been as well. I'm just talking about the sensory experience of our physical bodies at this particular juncture, because again, the illusion of the outside world is ever changing. But like the central nervous system has been jacked up with all this electricity, all this energy coursing through our bodies. And because of that, like, you know, I know that the sun isn't necessarily the sun, but she bright. She putting off a different kind of light, and it's burning my eyeballs out. And, you know, different sounds are just striking through my head in a different way, but they've been the same sound all along. So the extra sensitivity that we're all experiencing right now is due to the energetic upgrades that we're going through. Again, the downloads that we're receiving, we don't even know we're receiving them, let alone making sense of them. It's not time for that yet. We will gain that depth of knowledge when we move into the depth of our intuition, when we move into Pisces season. This is just a preemptive download in order for us to be able to sit with ourselves through the Piscean energy and be able to sort that kind of energy out. The dream state. I want to talk about the dream state for a second, because yes, that is ever changing as well. We're still in a phase, and we will continue to be in a phase until we enter into the new astrological calendar, where there's a lot of old people, old topics and themes showing up again in our dream state. Why? Because we can't process it in our waking day, so we're working overtime in our astral realm in order to make sure that we're putting those particular people, places, and things behind us. But we are having a deep, deep, deep purge. The sweat that is taking place at nighttime is unreal. Okay. There's no need for it, first of all. Secondary to that, when you wake up, whether you're waking up in the middle of the night in a sweat or you're waking up the next morning in a sweat, that sweat is indicative of a deep emotional purge. Okay. You don't have to cry to get an emotional purge out of your body. Any type of form of release is releasing those energies, releasing that memory, releasing that trauma. And you best believe we are sweating our holes off in so many different ways. And because of this, and I'm piecing this together, I'm not saying that everybody's sweating to death and that this is the reason why, but I've been waking up with little bumpies, like little tiny red bumpies that make no sense to me. There's no reason for it. The only thing that I can come up with is that it's a result of the detox that we're going through. And of course, as we know, the skin being the largest organ, being the last visible sign of us having an issue in our inner realm, it's highly indicative that these little bit of red bumpies, and of course, rash bumpies, irritation of some sort, it is these heavier emotions being broken up in our physical bodies and rising to the surface of our awareness in order to be released. But they're not fun. They're not itchy per se. They're not sore per se until you touch them, and they don't last very long, but they come out of nowheres, and it's just bewildering because, what is going on in our dream state that we're waking up with the physical, visible energy and efforts of what's going on in the astral realm. I would suspect that's going to continue not only into next week, but I would say probably off and on for the next couple of weeks as we wrap up this calendar cycle. We have a lot to process. We have a lot to release. And so the night sweats and I'm going to call them residual bumpies, definitely going to be there. So guys, I'm checking my list and I'm pretty sure I've talked about everything that I wanted to bring to your attention. We definitely are going to see some unexpected events, not only in our personal lives, but on the collective stage pop up here this week. Again, just keep in mind that the not evildoers, but those dark doers out there. I hate to even call it dark because dark is demonized and dark is actually, feminine energy and the place of creation. So I don't know why we relate darkness to something bad. However, the group of people out there in the world that are for them and therefore doing things to promote themselves and therefore don't give an F about the collective. Well, those people, they schedule all of their major moves according to the stars as well. And again, that doesn't make astrology bad. It means that it's an information system that, depending on the user, either creates good or bad. And that's why if you're awakened and you know how to work with energy, you need to be doubling down to make sure that you're doing double the work to make sure that we're canceling out, if you will, a lot of the oppositional plans that, again, don't fit into the new earth that we're willing to create. So this week should definitely be a unexpected wild card doozy thrown at us on that collective stage. And again, we're not going to react to it. We're not going to have an emotion about it because that would be feeding the beast in which we're trying to kill. Just stay ahead of the game. Stay in observation mode. Again, observe, do not absorb. And we are going to, again, move into a very interesting dynamic, a strategized dynamic, if you will, where we have the option and the opportunity to not only meet them and beat them at their game, but to set our own game standard up for what it is that we're trying to bring to life, materialize, and manifest for this new astrological year. So I thank you so much for tuning in. I send you so much love, and we'll talk to you soon.